Well, I swore I wasn't gonna do this, that I was gonna stick to whatever Matt told me, and I was just gonna play the opening lines that he gave, and I wasn't gonna waste any more time trying to learn new lines. But I'm learning a new line. So let's jump in and take a look, and we'll talk about why and why I'm happy with this decision and why I don't think it's a big deal. As always, there'll be a link in the description to the PGN of this game with some additional notes and comments, things I don't cover here. But let's dive in. All right, so I've been playing this Nimzo for quite a while now. This line where we play knight f3, and then after this really early c5, this is where I really have the problems here. And traditionally, we've been playing bishop to g5, and I really don't like this line that much. And the reason is that after, say, h6, the best move is to capture, and then they say take. Oh, sorry, we play like e3, and then captures, and then say b6 or d6, and then they get e5, and we get the super close structure. Yes, white's got a whole bunch of space. At some point, we're going to play d5, and like on paper, we look okay, but black's lack of space is not really a problem. I don't know what the plans are, and I just don't really feel comfortable in these positions. And so I decided that after c5, I took a deep look, and with a recommendation from one of my coaches, and came up with g3, which is actually at the top level, at the GM level, this is what's always played. Now, against players between 2,000 and 2,500, which is what my range is, this is like the sixth most common move. So that was kind of another thing I like about it, is that this isn't quite as well known as even bishop g5 or e3, which is perhaps the most common move at lower levels. And so I think that this is going to be great. The point is that we're going to put this bishop on the long diagonal, and it's going to be hard for black to kind of get this locked up structure. Now, I played this game against my IM coach, and he agreed to play this specific opening where black still tries to go for this d6 e5 plan, and I won a really nice game. Now, I have to preface that because I picked the opening, and I picked the variation, and he was not prepared for it. So even though, he is an IM with a couple of GM norms, I still feel really good about having won, but there's some caveats. It's not like he was playing his own stuff. Anyway, that aside, castles, bishop d2, and now d6, just trying to go for this close center, which is the thing that I hate. So we get castles and takes, and then now knight to c6, which is something that I had faced, and this is a pretty typical idea. They're trying to induce d5. Maybe they're going to play here, like here, and we definitely never want to play d5 now because we have this bishop on the long diagonal. Why on God's earth would we want to shut it in? But I had this idea, this computer-assisted idea, that we can just take now, and takes. And initially, I really didn't feel good about this position because, well, those pawns are ugly. They're super ugly. But this is another hole in my chess understanding, is that, like, I don't need to pay so much attention to pawn structure. So, for example, the first time I got this position, I just let this set. And, I played queen c2, I played rook e1, I tried to go for e4, and I just thought, if black ever takes here, I can take back, and that would be amazing. Here's the problem. Any decent player with the black pieces is never going to take on d4 because they know it would be amazing for me. So they're just not going to do it. Instead, I capture, and then when they take back, we play bishop to f4. And look at these bishops. These bishops look amazing. We get the B file. We're going to get some control over the D file. Yes, these pawns look weak on paper, but they're actually controlling some kind of important squares. I don't know how important B5 and B4 are, but D5 and D4 are certainly important. And this bishop to F4 is stopping E5, which means this bishop blows. B6 is hard to achieve because of this bishop. And we have nice piece play. Yes, the pawns are a little bit iffy, but we have nice piece play. And it's already quite difficult for black to figure out what to do here. Queen A5, which is what my opponent played, which is the most common move, we can meet with queen to B3. And here, he already blundered, essentially. He played queen to A6, which is a pretty big mistake. His idea is that he wants to go knight A5 and then ask me how I'm going to defend this pawn. But I came up with, I was on my own by this point. I didn't have any more engine stuff. I played queen to b5, and I really like this move. The point being that if you capture, I undouble my pawns, I kick the knight. This bishop is extra strong. This knight doesn't really have anywhere all that great to go. And if you don't take my queen, well, I'm going to take yours, and you're going to have these ugly pawns, and this knight's going to be super loose, and you're going to run into some problems. So say, for example, just a random terrible move. We get queen takes a6, takes, and then knight e5 already, and you're already losing material. Just lights out. So I thought, though, that he would play, sorry, not, I gotta take back h6. I thought that queen a3 would be the move to play. But apparently after like knight e5, already big problems. You have to capture, and we can take with the bishop. We're defending this pawn. This queen's perhaps out of play. We're still threatening this bishop d6. We're threatening this move. White has to play something like here, but this is not really a problem. We just go to d6. We're going to maintain control here. This queen is really, really offsides, and this bishop is virtually impossible to move. And yeah, I think this looks like a happy position. I mean, okay, knight to d7. We can come here. Fine, you want to try to grab it, but we'll just grab this, and you're still going to run into troubles trying to develop your pieces. We'll put a rook on the d file. Yeah, quite happy. I would be quite happy to play this. Instead, queen takes b5, and we capture back. Now the knight's got to move, and I swooped in with this bishop d6, which is a bit of a mistake, it turns out. It's better to go knight to d2. I suppose the point is to try to keep this knight out of c4, but I thought I was keeping the knight out of c4 in a different way, as we'll see. Bishop d6 is not like a huge mistake, okay? Like the computer's giving like 1.6 for knight to d2. Oh, as it thinks a little bit longer, it likes my move better. Sorry, I'm just better than the Stockfish engine is at an incredibly low depth. So bishop d6, rook to e8, and here I don't know what I'm thinking. I was so fixated on winning this pawn, I didn't even notice I can just go here. I mean, this is just a monumentally massive blunder from black, and I didn't notice because I had a different idea. So in a way, I'm sort of glad I didn't do it because I was really happy with the way the rest of the game went. So I'm up a pawn now. I'm just up a clean pawn. And this comes, and now I had a kind of a big decision to make, and it wasn't really clear. I thought about going here because I was like, maybe I'll take on f6 and I'll ruin that structure. Maybe I'll put the knight right here. I'll defend this pawn, blockade this file. But I decided I didn't really like that. And instead I went with bishop to b4. And my point is I'm just going to take this knight. Now that seems potentially kind of silly because why do I want to take this knight that kind of looks awful and over on the side of the rim? And well, my point is that I want to advance this pawn up the board, but I'm going to run into a hurdle. As soon as I advance the pawn once, I can't even advance it right now because the knight is covering the c4 square. And then I try to advance it again, it's going to run into a pawn. So I wanted to just grab the knight here. And also, I do have some threats if you're not careful. So bishop b7, and I just grab the knight and then push the pawn. And, I'm going to push the pawn. And then I'm going to push the pawn. And this looks really, really difficult to deal with. So rook ac8 happens. And it seems like I need to play rook c1. But I don't. I played rook fd1. This is nice. You can't grab here because this is a mate. And even after you exchange and I exchange, you still can't grab here because this is still mate. And so I've successfully defended the pawn without defending the pawn, which always feels nice to do. King to f8 happens so that there's no more mate. But now knight to e5 and sort of defending the pawn directly. I'm discovering against the bishop. And so there's really, I can't come up with any reason why you wouldn't exchange. So grabs, and now knight to e4, wanting to try to put in a blockade and also play f6 to kick this knight. But notice now that this bishop is gone, I'm going to play knight c6 at some point. I played rook fd7, and here my opponent played f6 and then resigned. And I mean, the position is +6. As you let it think longer, it's going to be even worse. I think it comes to like +7 or so. I mean, I'm still only up one pawn, but look at this rook. Look at these pawns. Look at this pawn. Yeah. I was going to play c6. I thought a6 might happen. But Chris just pointed out, I can just take it, and you can't take here because, yeah, this is, I'm going to queen. You can come here, but I just have check. And you come here, and then I just make a queen. And you're giving up your rook. Or maybe even I can do it in a different order where I can give a check, and you play here, and now I push, and go ahead, take it. Because that's queen. So anyway, I was really pretty happy with how this went. I've played a couple of games in this G3 position, so we'll go back and take a peek. This G3 here, I'm still playing the bishop to G5 in almost every other situation. So for example, castles, I'm going to play it here. And now if you go C5, still sticking with the repertoire. It's really just this one move order where we play C5 super early that we play G5, and then H6 is a really big problem for me. And I just don't like those resulting positions. Anyhow, I hope this was interesting for you guys and it gives you an alternative, something else to think about, another way to play the position, and that going forward, that maybe you'll get a chance to do that as well. Anyway, as usual, there will be a link right there to a playlist if you want to learn more about the Nimzo-Indian. Check out the rest of the lines. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.